Hey everybody, this is my second trimester pregnancy vlog. I'm doing one vlog per trimester just to sort of, honestly for selfish reasons, I want to have something to revisit when this pregnancy is done and just see like how I was feeling, but also because I get a fair amount of questions every day on social media, but I don't really want my Instagram to turn into like baby central, so I thought I would just sort of compile things and do it like this. But first, I will tell you that pregnancy hair, it's real and it's awesome. All right, so second trimester stuff. Just so you know, so you have an idea of like where you're getting me. I am just a couple days shy of 28 weeks, which puts me in my third trimester. So I'm about to skate right into the last third of this pregnancy, and I sort of can't believe that it's already this far into it. Because on one hand, I feel like I have been pregnant forever and ever. I will never not be pregnant. This is just my new permanent state. And on the other hand, I feel like time is flying. It feels like I just got that positive pregnancy test and I'm just like, my mind is blown that it's actually going as quickly as it is. So somebody asked if I have been subject to any of like the misconceptions or stereotypes. I'm looking at my laptop here. So misconceptions or stereotypes of pregnancy. And honestly, I've been really fortunate because I haven't had really any of the classic symptoms, or at least not many. So like first trimester, I was never sick. I was rarely fatigued or really exhausted. It's only now at the end of the second trimester that like towards the end of the day, like the end of the afternoon, I feel like I just need to lay down. Like I'm not even tired for a nap. I just feel like I need to be horizontal. My hair has gotten like a little bit thicker, but only because it doesn't fall out. So it's not like been this explosion of hair growth or anything. It's just, you know, when you brush your hair and like you have hair to pull out of the brush, or when you're showering, hair comes out. That doesn't really happen for me while I'm pregnant, which is amazing. Like if I could harness whatever cocktail of hormones is cooking up inside of me and just keep it, I'd do it. So I guess the only stereotypical like pregnancy, like negative pregnancy symptom I've had is crazy heartburn. Like the heartburn is real. It's pretty much every day, but not in the early day, only in the evening and into the night. And I've tried everything natural you can think of. I've tried it and it doesn't work for me. So I've taken some over-the-counter stuff that my doctor recommended and that's been working, but even that is like hit or miss. So that's the only thing. But I feel like if that's my only complaint, like I have no problems really. Okay, another thing that I got asked about was that infamous glucose test and my blood pressure. So if you're not familiar with the glucose test that you do when you're pregnant, it's to test for gestational diabetes. And it's really well known in the US because you have to drink this like bottle of basically pure sugar. It has like 60 something grams of sugar in it or something like that, and you have to drink it within 10 minutes and then sit around and they see how your glucose levels respond. And that's like an indicator of whether or not you have diabetes while you're pregnant or not. So nobody looks forward to this test. It's kind of awful from what I've heard, and I was not excited for mine either. But what was interesting was when I went to the doctor and I got my monthly like blood work right up, he crossed out the diabetes one, the glucose test, and he was like, honestly, your risk is like non-existent. So if anything changes, I'll test for it, but for right now, you don't need to be tested for it. So I was like, yes! Score! In general, it's been an interesting experience to be pregnant in France versus the United States. Granted, I've never been pregnant in the United States either, but I know a little bit about the process of being pregnant in the US, and it's treated really differently. For example, like my weight, I have been weighed exactly twice during my entire pregnancy. Like when you go to the doctor's office, they test your blood pressure each time, but they don't weigh you each time. I feel like it's a little bit more common sense, like they sort of just glance at you. And if it looks like you're gaining a lot of weight, then maybe they'll keep up with it and try to curtail some of the speed with which you're gaining, but like it seems very common sense. So like the first time when I first went in and I was pregnant, they were like, oh, you can weigh yourself if you want, so you can keep track of how much you're gaining. So I did, so I knew what I started at. And then there was one other time, like 2 or 3 months later, that the ultrasound tech asked me to weigh myself, and I did. But like my doctor has not asked, he hasn't made it a thing, and I'm kind of like appreciative of that, because if as a woman, I think we forget how strongly tied our identity can be to that number on the scale. And it's just really nice when it's not overemphasized in the context of pregnancy, when you're already sort of sensitive to that. Because no matter how like body positive you are, the fact that the number on the scale continues to go up while you're pregnant is like a little bit of a mental exercise to stay in a good frame of mind about it. So I personally have really appreciated it not being an issue. But we're getting off topic. Blood pressure question. Yeah, my blood pressure has been perfect. So thank God for that, hoping it stays that way. And yeah, so far so good. I did get a fair amount of questions about the differences between the US experience and the French experience. And like I said, I haven't been pregnant in the US, so I can't really speak to that completely. But it does in general feel like pregnancy is not treated like a disease here. It's like a natural thing that is a safe process to happen, and then they only intervene medically if necessary. So my doctor feels more like he's just observing the process, making sure things are going smoothly, but otherwise it's pretty relaxed. Now, when I first came in, like as a new patient and he didn't know anything about me, he was a lot more cautious and like, okay, well, we're gonna test for that, we're gonna test for this, we're gonna keep an eye on that. But as things have progressed and he's gotten to know my pregnancy and my body, I guess, things feel really smooth and easy to just go with the flow. Another question I got was about my gym and my yoga routine and whether or not I'm still doing that. Answer is yes, of course. I am staying super active. Excuse me. You know what? Burping is a part of being pregnant and I don't want to be judged. Yes, I am still working out. I go to the gym at least 3 days a week. So I do strength training at least 3 days a week, and I'm doing yoga a few times a week as well. So in general, I'm just following my instincts. I have studied a lot and I know what my options are in terms of being pregnant and what I can do strength-wise, what I can do yoga-wise. I've been teaching for a really long time. I've been studying this for a really long time. So I feel well equipped in terms of my knowledge around the subject. The way that I gauge my strength training is I keep my heart rate between like 120 and I max out at like 150. That's what feels good and appropriate for me. I was relatively fit before I got pregnant, so that range feels good. But the thing that you want to avoid doing is getting your body overheated, because the baby has no way to moderate or regulate its temperature. So if you get too hot, that can be a dangerous thing. And also if your heart rate sort of gets a little bit too high, you can have like heart palpitations, which are really uncomfortable. So I've just been playing it by ear as I go. Like I said, listening to my body, listening to what feels instinctive, and sort of forgetting the rest. I'm not following any hard and fast rules in terms of like, oh, how heavy should I be lifting? Again, I'm just like, what feels good, what feels challenging without being impossible. I'm making sure that my strength training is not like so intense that I'm sore for days after. I'm doing things that are pretty much well within my comfort zone to maintain as much of my strength and fitness as possible, understanding that I know I'm gonna lose fitness as I progress in my pregnancy, but just trying to maintain a certain level of like strength and confidence and stamina without pushing too hard. And my yoga practice has come down a lot to be more restorative, more relaxing. I'm focusing a lot on breath work and meditation, and just really allowing myself to turn inward for my yoga practice. Okay, the last question I got was sort of in line with working out, and that was about ab work specifically. So a couple of people asked me if I'm doing core work still, and the answer is yes, but I'm putting an asterisk on that. So you want to stay away from any kind of like core focused work, so sit-ups and crunches and things like that. I'm doing a lot of compound movements in my strength training routine, so like squats and deadlifts and walking lunges and even overhead press. Like all of these things encourage your core stabilizers to fire, and that's what I'm focusing on mostly. So I'm also doing some plank, and I'm modifying it, like I'm coming down to my knees in plank and holding for a little bit less time. So the reason why you want to avoid that core focused work is because it can increase your chances of that diastasis recti, where your abs separate for too long after you've given birth, and that can cause some problems like that you just don't want to have to deal with. So it's natural for your abdominals to separate during pregnancy because you're getting so much bigger, but eventually you want them to come back together. So making sure that your core is not overworked and over strong is something that is very important, and that's what I've been mindful of as I work on that. Okay, so those were the main questions. In general, my second trimester has been really wonderful. I've had lots of energy and I've felt pretty much totally like myself. Lots of baby movement. So it's like myself, but there's a human being growing inside of me that I can feel constantly. So it's been a fun time. It's been really interesting, really cool, really weird also. But overall, yeah, second trimester is what everybody says it is. Like you get this wave of energy, you feel really good. Things are generally smooth and easy. I personally haven't had a lot of complaints during my pregnancy in general, but I know that's not always normal. So if your pregnancy sounds a little bit different than mine, don't worry. You know, like our bodies have to accommodate for each pregnancy that we have. So even from one to the next, it might be different, and definitely from one woman to the next, it would be different. So I think that's it. Just wanted to answer a few questions, give you an update for how things are going. I really appreciate you tuning in, and if you have questions for the next vlog that I do, definitely drop them down in the comments below. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys right back here next time.